Welcome to Green Home Diary. I'm going to give you a tour around the house to show you exactly what we think needs doing from the eco refit. So you can see here from the front of the house that we got plenty of space underneath the eaves there for the external insulation, but when it comes to the side, well, you can't really see it all that much here. But when you come to the sides, there's very little space here at all, which means that the actual side, the roof, will have to be extended. You notice also we got a few things that poke out. So we got the air vent from the cooker hood, a light, tubes from the tubes there for the central heating, and of course you've got the outlet from the gas boiler as well. Okay, so you can see we've got a loft extension there. It's not in particularly good shape. It's about 20 years old. The woodwork will possibly need replacing. The windows are blown, so they're no longer functioning as double glazed units. There's condensation inside. What else is there to say about that? The roof itself again needs replacing, so the whole thing needs a refurb. One of the difficulties with this is that I think the gap between the inside and the outside is not very big. There's not a lot of insulation there. It was done 20 years ago. The builder obviously did his best, but maybe we need to increase the width or the cavity in order to put a lot more insulation into that. You can see here the sides. Now I know I'm almost sure there isn't any insulation in there. And at the back of the house, you see you've got double doors there, and mainly the sitting room there, as you can see. The idea is to get rid of those doors and put in a window and replace those windows with a floor-to-ceiling sliding door that will go out into a conservatory. So down the side, there's a few things that we need doing there. There's a shed down there that will go. There's a few things on the wall. There's some pipe work on the wall that will need to be redirecting. Okay, so here we are in the sitting room. We're looking towards the southern side of the building now. And in the corner, you'll see there's this downpipe here which comes from the bathroom upstairs, and also in the room on the roof as well. We've got an ensuite unit, or an ensuite from our bedroom there. So the problem is, if you're going to put a wood-burning stove in the corner here, that's in the way. That's what we'd like to do, put it in the corner, in the way. So I think we've got a plumbing here, take all this off, divert the downpipe so it goes into the garage, and then reconnect it back up again. So there's a sort of diversion from top to bottom, so we can actually get the fire close into the corner. The floor itself, again, the idea is that to remove that radiator there's a radiator here underneath the window, we'll see that in a moment, and put underfloor heating, insulate the underfloor as well. Whilst this room is being totally and 100% being disruptive, so take the ceiling off, redirect, put underfloor heating for the upstairs, shed loads of insulation again back in, and put the ceiling in. And also I think we'll probably use a fireproofing type of material. If ever we wanted to split the house into two halves, then I think building regs requires that the downstairs has to be, the type of materials used all has to be fireproofed. Okay, so here we are. This is the other side of the room here. This is the window. This is going to go. We want this to be a top to bottom sliding door. You slide the door across here. The room now gets larger, extends out into the conservatory. The radiator that's here, again, that's obviously got to go. Underfloor heating, as I mentioned before. one thing I forgot to mention about this downpipe here is that whilst that downpipe is being moved, we can also lay the hot water supply from the tank in the roof, supply that, or certainly got access then to get that pipe down through this gap here and into the garage. Okay, so this is the other end of the room we're seeing now, and over here we got the sliding doors, pretty ancient, I think installed in 78. Not a very particularly big gap here, and I'm not even sure what the thermal capability is of these doors. They do get condensation on down at the bottom when it gets cold in the winter time. And the idea here is to take these doors out and put in, build the wall back in, and put in a window that's here that probably just tilts open, nothing fancy, but just tilts open to let a movement of air through from the conservatory into this room here. Okay, so here's the kitchen. We had it done in 2000, so it's getting a bit old now. So about 9 years old. Poke and pole type one. Might have a problem with the fan here. There's an exit out onto the wall, and a bit of a mystery at the moment as to what to do with the stale air. Okay, so here we are. This is the stairs that leads up from the first floor to the second floor into loft extension. You can see here that we've had a bit of a problem here with condensation, I think. We've got some thermal bridging, I suspect, happening here, because behind this area here is the RSJ that runs across the back of the house. What would be good is to be able to put a roof light or access to the roof and have a roof light here so we can get up onto the roof, because if ever we put PV on that slope, the front slope of the house, then we will need access to be able to clean it. Again, if you look at these windows here, I don't know if you can see it, but again, you've got condensation, so these windows are blown. They're pretty thin as well. Again, you're talking 20 years old with this, and what we'd like to do is just replace these windows completely and put in some new ones that are probably triple glazing if we can afford it. So I think one of the key issues with Eco Refit is, I don't think there's many people doing it. I don't even know whether there's a market out there. The government clearly want to establish a market in order to meet their 2020 and 2050 targets. But it's new, there isn't a lot of skills, and that was clearly a point that came out of the Energy Saving Trust media event on Tuesday. If we're early adopters, then we're probably going to have to pay more for it. At the moment, there's no government funding, or very little government funding. We're talking about a major disruption to the house, and if you're going to do it, you really only want to do it once. So, from my perspective, I'm happy to make that investment. I really want to share the experience with others, and also provide a very straightforward, here's a step-by-step guide. If you're going to start on something like this, here's what you need. You start with your budget, you start with your to-do, your wish list. You work out where all the changes need to go. And I think with the spec that I produce, albeit at a high level, I think we're starting to get there in terms of what really needs to be done around the house. Unfortunately, I am unable to do a cost benefit. I don't know whether, putting on the types of material I use, the thickness of the materials, the labour involved, etc. What is the cost benefit for all this? I haven't the clue, and I think that's where people who are going to have this work done, and if they're going to make an investment, they're really going to want to know what their return on investment is going to be.